Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman. Not sure if Vern or FP are going to join us. We're trying to get them on the line. At each commercial break, we are going to ask a sports trivia question. Today's trivia theme is pitchers. And why? Because we have a special guest today, former Major League Baseball pitcher Scott Karl, who played for the Brewers, Rockies, and Angels. Did I do that correctly?
In that order, exactly.
In order. And what's kind of neat is that I found a little tidbit here that said that you used to wear number 42. But then
yes, I did.
Yeah, and then when did that get changed because of Jackie Robinson honor?
It was either 97 or 98 when Bud Selig, the commissioner at that time, retired it. But he did allow those of us that were still wearing it to continue wearing it. It just couldn't be handed out anymore. And I think, if I remember correctly, when that announcement came down, there were 9 of us that still had it. And then by the time I was done, there were 3 of us. There was myself, Mo Vaughn, and Mariano Rivera.
Gotcha. And then did you wear it until you retired? Or did you?
I wore it until I was traded to the Rockies. I was still technically allowed to wear it, but the Rockies owner was not willing to hand it out. And so I didn't want to make a big stink about it. So I just moved on.
You know, honestly, I think if I were you, I would have done this exact same thing, because I think the way that it was being honored, it would have been, even though you did have the number and you had the right to wear it, I think that was very forward thinking to kind of say, you know what, in respect for this, I'll go ahead and change my number. What did you change to?
I went to 19, which was my collegiate number.
Oh, that's always kind of fun. All right. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit more to Scott Karl in the next segment, because he's now a wealth manager at Access Wealth Management. And this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, still providing mortgage investments, currently yielding over 6%, secured by real estate. Doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman. Don't know where Vern is.
Yeah, a lot of elbow room here.
Yeah, sometimes one time we had 5 of us on there, and it gets a little bit too busy. So this is really good. Our special guest is former Major League Baseball pitcher Scott Karl, who played for the Brewers, Rockies, and Angels, and now is a wealth manager at Access Wealth Management. Again, Scott, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. So let's start off with your career. Go ahead and tell us, how did that start off, and then we'll transition into how you transitioned over to wealth management.
Yeah, no problem. Youth-wise, I was soccer and baseball all the way growing up. Tried all the sports, but really loved those 2. And went to high school in Carlsbad, California, which is kind of northern San Diego area. Got had a couple scholarships. Was really looking forward to some Pac-10 opportunities, but broke my ankle playing soccer my senior year, and those opportunities went away. And at the 11th hour, University of Hawaii slipped in there on a referral from a former alumni, and they brought me over sight unseen, gave me a full ride, and it turned out to be a magnificent springboard. Left there after my junior year. I was second team All-American and was drafted in the 6th round by the Brewers, and really sped through the minor leagues pretty quickly. I had a phenomenal year in 92 in rookie ball. I think I went 7-0, springboarded to Double-A. So skipped over 2 single-A teams for 1993 in El Paso, Texas. And again, had a very good year. I think I got pitcher of the year. Wow. And so that pushed me up to Triple-A in 1994, where I had a good season. I wouldn't say it was a great season, but I had a good season. But I was asked to go play in the Arizona Fall League that year. And then, of course, if anyone remembers, that was the year that the World Series got canceled and the whole strike went down. And so it was a little precarious, a little screwy in that I wasn't a minor league player anymore, but I wasn't a big league player either. So I was kind of caught in the middle of the whole thing. Couldn't go to minor league spring training. So got to the abbreviated big league spring training in 95. Had a really good camp. I was always a starting pitcher, but the only opportunity they had at the moment was as a reliever. So they put me in the pen, and I had a really good spring training, but got called into the office about 2 days left 3 days left and was told by Phil Garner, my manager, hey, you did great, but I've got to go with this other guy who's got, some veteran leadership. And so we're going to send you back down. So of course I was not happy with that. Got in my car, drove from Phoenix, Arizona to New Orleans as quickly as I could, parked my car at the airport, hopped a plane to Omaha, Nebraska to meet up with the AAA team, got to the field the next morning. Manager says, hey, really appreciate you getting here so quickly, but I can't let you dress out. And of course, I just lost my mind thinking I had just drove halfway across the country to get here and get going. And he said, the reason you can't dress out is because the guy you were battling blew out his arm last night in an exhibition game. So you're going to go up to the big leagues. So that gave me the goosebumps. And so I met the team in Milwaukee to start the season. And I went up and down twice that year, but then came up for the third time after one of the starting pitchers blew out his knee trying to field a bunt. Took over his spot, and then once he had healed up, he went to the bullpen. I stayed in the rotation, and that was that.
Let me ask you, from a mental standpoint, how is it when getting the call up is awesome. It kind of reminds me of the movie The Rookie, with Dennis Quaid. But how is it like, you're doing fairly well, but they send you down? What goes through your mind at that time? That's got to be really demoralizing.
It is. I'll tell you. I won't bog us down in too many stories, but this one's pretty neat. The second time I went up, I was supposed to be the starting pitcher in Buffalo AAA that day, and when I got to the stadium, the manager basically threw my bags at me and said, "Hey, Milwaukee's been on a road trip. They're getting their butts kicked. They're out of pitching. You're going now." Just threw me my bag. Said, "Go to the airport. Hop a flight to Cleveland. You're going to pitch for them somehow tonight." So I'm race to the airport. I get to Cleveland. I show up in like the third inning. The clubhouse manager throws my uniform at me, says, "Get dressed, get out to the bullpen. They're going to need you." I go out there. They put me in like the eighth inning, super tight ball game, bases loaded, no outs. And I somehow got out of it with no runs. You're talking Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton, Manny Ramirez, Jim Thome. I mean, sluggers everywhere. So got out of it. And then the next night, they put me in the game again, and it was almost like Groundhog Day. It was just basically the same situation, like bases loaded, no outs late in the game, and I somehow got out of it again. So here I am thinking, like, I'm the best pitcher in the world. I can get these guys out.
Everyone's just, there must be.
Yeah.
That was in Cleveland, right?
It was in Cleveland, so of course they weren't happy, but I was super happy.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're all no, don't send this guy in again.
Yeah, and I thought, heck, these guys are going to keep me forever if I keep doing this. And then I come to the field the next morning, and the beat writer stops me, and he said, "Hey man, you did absolutely phenomenal. It was so awesome to watch you pitch." And I said, "Thank you." And he goes, "It sucks that they're sending you back down." And I said, "What? Excuse me?" And he said, "Oh, you haven't seen the manager yet this morning?" I said, No, I haven't." He goes, "Oh, you might want to go see him." So I go in to see Phil Garner. He's like, "Hey man, you did great for us, but we have a guy coming off the disabled list, and I got to reactivate him, so I need your spot." So I was like, okay, I clearly don't understand how this works, because I thought I did great and I'm going back down. So I was back down for a couple of weeks until that other guy got injured. So yeah, it happens at that level. It's very much a business as much as it is a game.
Yeah, because the thing is, if I understand it correctly, when you're first pitching, the hitters have never seen you, so you do have an advantage, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, they have scouting reports or, limited scouting reports they have. But yeah, until they really see it firsthand and they see the movement and they see the speeds and they see the delivery, it's a little bit of an advantage to me. And
I'm not trying to diss you at all. I was just trying to get.
No, those are true statements. Yeah.
Okay. So then it's weird because, when we're watching as fans, and we see certain players where we go, what's this guy even doing in the big leagues? But he's still there, whoever that person is. And you keep wondering, it's like, so guys like you who are doing really well, it's, a lot of us, well, I guess the people who saw you pitch and then realized you weren't there going, come on, bring this guy back up again.
Well, I appreciate that comment. And yeah, from some perspective, that is true. But in reality, if you watched me on a long-term basis, or you asked a major league scout or anyone who was like a true baseball aficionado, they would probably look at me and say, why is this guy in the big leagues? Because I didn't throw very hard. I was like a poor man's Tom Glavine. I hit my spots, I changed speeds, I tickled the corners, I threw a lot of ground balls and stuff like that. And I feel like I had a pretty good career at it, but in today's standards, you wouldn't see a pitcher with my profile really pitching in the big leagues. I didn't throw hard enough. I mean, I threw like 88 miles an hour.
Yeah, but finesse can do it. It's so funny. That reminds me, when I had Billy Bean on one time, I was teasing him and I said, I should try out for your team. I said, I can throw in the high 60s. I said every pitch would be an off-speed pitch.
It certainly would.
No sense of humor though. He didn't laugh. He kept just kind of, well, I don't think so. I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, it was, you're right though. It was a change of pace compared to some of the harder throwers that we had. But, back then there were more of us then than there. I mean, Tom Glavine threw that way.
Yeah.
Jamie Moyer threw that way. We had a couple pitchers on my team that threw that way. And, if you could hit your spots and you could change speeds and really the art of pitching, you could make a career out of it. And I had I had at least 4 of my 6 years were really solid statistical years. So.
Very good. Okay.
Do you feel that the art?
Oh wait, hey Russ, it's so funny. You pipe in first now, right? When we're kind of cutting to a break. Let's ask our trivia question when we come back. Remember your question, all right? Here we go. Here's our trivia theme is pitchers. And by the way, Scott, if you know the answer, don't say anything until we get back. All right.
All right.
Which pitcher was the first pitcher to sign a $100 million contract? That's our trivia question. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Which pitcher was the first pitcher to sign a $100 million contract? And see if you know the team also. All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with my co-host Russell Jackman, who didn't say much in the first 2 segments, but we'll say something here, and our special guest, Scott Karl. Okay, guys, first trivia question. Which pitcher was the first pitcher to sign a $100 million contract?
I'm going to guess Doc Gooden.
No, it was
no. Yeah, I would say it's after that. I would say.
Let me give you the year, 1998.
Smoltz?
No, actually, it was Kevin Brown when he signed.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Brownie with the Dodgers. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Russell, you wanted to ask out a question.
Yeah. Well, if I was I'll make it a compound one. With the new deal that they have, they're getting rid of, or they're adding in the designated hitter. And since you played on both leagues, I wanted to see what your thought was of the, of pitchers no longer having to bat, and what sort of implication that means for the game. And is it something that you think is going to benefit pitchers, or do you think it's going to make it more difficult? Because on the one hand, pitchers don't have to bat anymore, but on the other hand, means that normal soft spot of the lineup where you have an easy out, you don't have that anymore as a pitcher.
And by the way, you had a couple of home runs too, didn't you?
I did. I had 2 home runs, and I think I might even had a triple in there somewhere. So yeah, So Russ, that's a really good question, and I do have a strong opinion about it, but I may find myself in the minority here in that I don't like the DH. I like being a part. Yeah, I liked being a part of the game. I liked the strategy of it. I liked personally participating, and I took pride in my bunting and moving the runner over and doing whatever I could to help the team, which would of course help me since I'm on the mound. I didn't like, just coming in and sitting and not being a part. I just felt disconnected from the offensive side of the game. So I like that. I understand why the union would want to push for it. It is an extra job for an extra player. But I liked that part of the game. I liked that strategy. I liked, maneuvering the bottom part of the lineup, and if need be, pitching around somebody so that you could, statistically put yourself in an advantage and make the hitter or make the pitcher have to beat you with their bat. And so, I mean, it hurt me sometimes because there were times where I got pulled out of a game, late in the game because, there were runners on base and the manager felt he needed a bat instead of me. And so I lost out on pitching an extra inning or two. And so that's unfortunate, but again, that's strategy. And without getting too high up on my soapbox right now, I feel like there's a lot of strategy missing in today's game. So I would have liked to have seen the DH actually go away completely, but at a minimum, just have seen it stand the way that it was. But
I gotta say that it's definitely really fun when you have a pitcher who is talented for either bunting or speed or can hit. I mean, like Madison Bumgarner, a good hitter. And I remember the old days, John Blue Moon Odom. Sometimes he would actually come in as a pinch hitter. That's how good he was with the bat. And people don't realize how difficult bunting really is.
Oh yeah, I mean, it is. You have to practice it. I mean, you're basically turned and you're looking right at the hitter, and he's throwing it, and you're not looking out the side of your eye. You're looking right at it, and if it is off the line and it's coming right at you, it's pretty freaky. And then you have to have the finesse to not make too much contact with it, because obviously if you bunt it too hard, you could be hitting it right to somebody who's going to double you up in a heartbeat. So
that's got to be just taking the wind out of your sails when that happens.
Oh yeah, I mean you feel like you've let the team down. You've probably just squashed a rally. You've done all kinds of negative feelings to it, and that's why it was just uber important to really practice that trade, because the flip side of it is you get that down, you move that runner over, the next guy gets him in, you win by 1 run, and it's that run that got you the win.
And I can also see why they're like the police say, the players union, you're also kind of protecting the pitchers from getting hurt, be it from running or getting hit with a bunted ball, that sort of thing. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a weak argument though, because I mean, all through Little League and even up till college, I mean, your pitchers are typically your best players out there on the field, and so we're not, we're not non-athletes or anything. We are athletic.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not going to run a 4.40 down the line or anything, or but I'm not going to be stupid enough to blow something out, or I understand my first job is to pitch, but I mean, or getting hit by a pitch. I got hit by pitches, and that sucked. It hurt, but I don't know. It's kind of part of the game. I just liked personally being part of the game in that manner.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't hit your pitching hand, that it's not as bad. But have you ever suffer any fairly major injuries while you're playing?
Well, I got hit by a few line drives coming back at me. Don Mattingly hit a line drive off my shin. Sean Casey hit a line drive off my hip bone.
It's funny you mentioned Don Mattingly, because I remember a statistic about him that he had only hit 19 pop-ups in his career. That's how good a contact hitter he was. So you were on the receiving end of one of those.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I very much received it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a hitter out of Montreal, Shane, I cannot remember his last name, but he hit a line drive right back at my face that I barely blocked with my pitching hand. So that could have been ugly, but that was, thankfully I got away with that one with just some bumps and bruises. I tore the cartilage on my toe, pushing off the mound throughout the season. Ended up having to have surgery on that one. That was pretty good, but I got away pretty easy as far as arm injuries go. I had constant sore shoulders like any pitcher would, but I didn't have any of the Tommy John elbow issues. So, yeah.
And most of your career was as a starting pitcher?
Yeah. Other than that first few months with Milwaukee, and then my last season, I did a couple stints in the Colorado bullpen and the Anaheim bullpen, but predominantly as a starter.
And without looking at all your career online right now, were you on any good, competitive teams?
Unfortunately, no. Milwaukee, I don't think we ever finished above 500. The Rockies, we were, I think, in first place at the All-Star break, but we kind of faded in the second half, unfortunately. And then Anaheim, that was actually a really good team. I could tell that they had the components to really be a good team. They had 3 rookie pitchers that were on the rise. They had a good blend of veterans and younger players out in the field. They had excellent management. They had Mike Sosha, first-year manager.
Oh,
They had Joe Madden as a bench coach. They had Bud Black as a pitching coach.
yeah.
I mean, like, good baseball minds. And so turns out they won the World Series 2 years after that. And you could just kind of see all the pieces that were there. So that was probably the closest.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's always kind of hard to like be off the team for a couple of years and then, then they win it. But it is what it is. Russ, do you want to pop in here and ask a couple questions? Because I do want to, well, let's go ahead and transition into the business side of things. So because we've got like 2 minutes before we cut to a break, and then we'll have our last segment. So what happened after, at some point, was it your decision to walk away from the game?
Well, not due to lack of effort. I was let go by the Angels, and then I went to spring training with the Padres, who then let me go. I took a minor league open-ended contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates, which allowed me to pitch for their AAA team. But if any big league team wanted me, I would be free to go. And so that was a very good opportunity. And I statistically was pitching very well, but again, my velocity was falling down to like 84, 85, and it just wasn't appealing to the clubs. And so I didn't get any invites. And so I decided to retire at that point in time. I think that was maybe June or July of 2001.
So wait, but let me ask you something though. To me, I don't care if you can throw 25 miles an hour. It's statistics. If you're winning, if you're, which by the way, if you're pitching, when you were pitching in Colorado, that's probably the hardest between that or Chicago Cubs, right? Because of the elevation and how many home runs.
No, Colorado was difficult. And I'm with you. I don't think velocity is everything, but many teams did feel that way. And so even though I could make the ball move and I could still hit my spots and I could change speeds, they just didn't feel like there was enough velocity to make it work. So
yeah, because look at Tom Candiotti, all the knuckleball pitchers. They don't throw.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Hey, we're going to cut to our second trivia question. Which team was the last team to have 4 20-game winners? And again, we're talking baseball pitchers. That's our theme today. Which team was the last team to have 4 20-game winners? All right. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to that question. I'll give you a hint. It was a team that was in the 1970s. So there have not been 4 20-game winners. And obviously the game has changed quite a bit in the last, that's going on almost 50 years now.
Yeah.
It seems like yesterday,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman, our special guest, former Major League Baseball pitcher Scott Karl. Second trivia question, guys. Which team was the last team to have 4 20-game winners? And it happened in the 1970s. And if you can't, I'll give you a hint. 1971.
I'm going to guess the Dodgers.
No, it was the Baltimore.
I'll guess the A's.
No, it was the Orioles.
Orioles.
Oh.
So
they had just won the 1970. Well,
Okay.
hold on. Yeah, right. Because I'm trying to remember. Because the Pirates won in 71, the Orioles won in 70, and
Okay.
the amazing Mets in 69. Okay. All right. So Scott. Okay. So we're fast forwarding now. You're realizing it's time to hang up the cleats and the pitching glove. What was the transition at that point?
So the first year was essentially pouting. I was not mentally prepared to be out of the game. I was 30 years old, and 30 years old as a starting pitcher is usually your prime. But nobody wanted to offer me the job. So I spent the first year, I played golf like 6 days a week. I Didn't do much of anything, but I couldn't even watch ESPN. I'd see somebody pitching and I'd pitched against them the year before and I'd beat them. And I'm like, how do they have a job and I don't? So it was tough, and I wrestled with it a lot, but after a while I got used to it. I had a buddy.
Let me interrupt for a second. Had you had a decent bank account though?
Well, so I appreciate you asking that. So I did make quite a bit of money, what I felt was a good amount of money in baseball. But I unfortunately made the majority of my money in 2000. So the dot-com crash year. And I had an advisor that was not minding the shop and what did not take my best interests at heart. And he kept, and I was an intelligent person, but I was really busy on trying to save my career and I wasn't paying attention a lot. And he kept investing in all the high flying techs as they were falling off a cliff. And when I finally looked up, I would say a good 60 something % of my funds had been lost.
Oh my gosh.
And so I obviously immediately fired him and took it all back in myself. And I was an accounting major at school, so I liked numbers, and so I just tried to sort of right the ship and get everything back. And so I managed my own money for quite some time. But I didn't really go into the financial advisory world in the beginning. I wasn't really a huge hunter and gatherer. As strange as that sounds, because it is kind of a requirement in our business, but I guess I didn't like being hounded to manage my money when I played. And so it felt weird for me to hound other people for their money. But so I took a route through the mortgage industry. I did just about every different job in the mortgage industry and transitioned from there to venture capital. And I was in venture capital doing due diligence and fundraising and so forth, and then was offered an opportunity at a financial advisory firm who wanted to get rid of one of their advisors and have me take over that book and service it, which I thought was the best way to enter the business. So I got my licenses very quickly, took over, retained like 97% of those clients for the firm. They were very appreciative of that. And then I just kind of grew my book through them. We sort of parted ways about 5-6 years ago. And now I've been on my own independent since then with Access Wealth and love it.
So let me ask you, and again, we talk the same language because I got my bachelor's degree in accounting and a master's degree in tax. So we can relate on that. How easy was it to use your quote stardom of being a baseball pitcher? In one respect, I could see it would really help. In another respect, there may be people who are dealing with money who you'd have to kind of really prove yourself because people just have this assumption about athletes.
Yeah, no, they think athletes are they can think a lot of things, and some of them aren't very good. But I never really led with that, honestly. I don't know if it was just my upbringing or whatnot, but it feels weird to lead with, oh, I was a Major League Baseball player, because that was a part of me. It's not who I am. I feel like I'm an intelligent person who, handles his own finances very well and wants to handle yours very well. And, oh, by the way, I did play Major League Baseball. And so I have been around a lot of high net worth individuals. I've experienced a lot of emotions. I've dealt with high pressure situations. And I think all of those experiences would help me very well, in business with you. And so I never really lead with it, but when it comes out, I'm not shy about it. I of course talk about it, and it was a great part of my life. And so I think that it being a part of me and not my entire existence is very helpful.
And do you still stay in contact with some of your former teammates or just other players you are familiar with?
More so lately. I would say over the last 5 years, there was a big sort of chasm there after I left the game, again, because I was pouting and upset with it, and I just kind of walked away from it completely. But over the last 5 years, I've really kind of reintegrated into some charity golf tournaments where I've seen some of my former teammates and adversaries, and it's great to kind of reconnect over this time. I've done fantasy camp for the Brewers where I was one of the coaches and had an absolute blast doing that and can't wait to do it again. And so, yeah, it is nice to sort of reimmerse myself amongst the guys and be a part of that fraternity.
Well, you know, it's kind of neat. You mentioned about golf, and because Russell has come with me on at least one occasion. So we get asked every year, except for COVID situation. It was the Joe Morgan tournament. Now it's the Joe Morgan Memorial Tournament, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all kinds of famous athletes from yesteryear come and play golf, and it's it's a charity thing. It's really it's a lot of fun. What we do is we get to host the tent, and the guys will come, and I'll actually do the show at the golf tournament, you know. And hey, Rick Barry, come on over, and Tony La Russa, come on over, Vita Blue, come on, you know. And so they'll come, and we'll talk just like we're talking here, and then it's kind of fun because I get to play golf with them afterward, you know.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Wally Joyner puts on a really nice one down here in Orange County area, which helps to benefit a children's hospital up near Long Beach, and so he gets a lot of guys to come through there, and that's where I've been able to reconnect with some of them, and so that's been a really fun one.
And was he on the Angels at the same time you were?
Not same time. I mean, he was there, but we weren't together.
Gotcha. Okay, I was going to say that with him, I mean, with you being on the Angels for 2 years, was it?
No, I was only with the Angels for about 6 weeks. It was the very end of 2000.
Oh, gotcha. Because you're sort of you're in this, excuse me, the Southern California area, and you know, you think that like when you're in the area of a team you're playing with, like again, Wally Joyner played for the Angels, and he's down in Southern California, that there's a big connection there.
Yeah, no, we just through the fraternity, we know quite the same few people, and I think he had some openings at his tournament and didn't know who to call, and somebody said, hey, you know, give Scott a call, he's a decent golfer, and so he called me, and we hit it off, and I joined, and then I got invited back, so it was very kind of him.
Wow, very good. And I'm trying to think now, does baseball, do they have pensions?
They do, yes, and it's a very, very good pension. I'm technically eligible to draw it now, but it works sort of like an annuity where if you take it younger, it's not as much. Yeah. If I wait until I'm 60, yeah. So if I wait till I'm 62, that's my full age pension. In which case, then that's the max number I can receive.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny. I just turned.
Now,
Go ahead, Russ.
Oh, I just wanted to say, in this recent lockout and deal that's happened, who do you think was the winner or loser? Or do you think both sides won? Do you think both sides lost? What's your thought in the most recent lockout and the resolution to it?
That's a good question. I tried to stay apprised of it and the really important topics that came from it, but I guess I kind of got frustrated at both sides in the fact that they couldn't work this out faster than they did, because I was on a couple of those negotiating committees when I was the player representative for Milwaukee. And so we were able to kind of get the job done and stave off any kind of stoppage in play. But I don't know. I think it's about an equal ground. Just again, from the outside looking in, I still have yet to talk to a couple of people that I know are more familiar with the situation and sort of get their take on it. But as far as I can tell, it was probably a draw, and that's even more frustrating because they could have probably come to a draw a lot sooner. I think the one thing that really tends to bother me is the time that lapsed between when the owners locked out the players to when the owners actually came around and to have a meaningful conversation. There was a huge gap in time there, which I don't understand at all. Like that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
They just try to wait.
Just to ratchet it all up and to make people even, the public more urgent, and what really was sad is that a lot of the spring training cities lost millions of dollars in tourism that, Major League Baseball is not lifting a finger to recompensate anyone for their loss of not getting a spring training.
You're right. That's a great point. And it just appeared to me like the owners had a very defined plan. They did the lockout when they did. They went radio silent for as long as they did. it was very calculated on their side. And so I don't like that. It doesn't sound like it's a sort of a mutual process in that manner. And then to your point, yeah, the people that lost out the most are those cities that host the spring training and the fans. I mean, the spring training is probably one of the best opportunities for fans to get up close and personal. You know, they can get closer to the players, to have that kind of access that then feeds a fever like, hey, that's my favorite player now because, you know, I got to talk to him or high five him or he gave me a ball, or it's a memory that's created for the younger generation. And that was missed because during the season, it is more difficult to get an autograph or to get some quality time around the players. And so that's an important part of the game that they just completely discarded.
Yeah, I remember going to spring training a lot, a few years in a row, and it was so much fun because it was, you know, you cared, but you didn't care, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I loved spring training because I pitched my one day and then I went and golfed the other 4, and I just got myself ready for the season, and the weather was great in the Phoenix Valley. So I loved spring training, and it was fun to shoot the breeze with the fans and you know, just have the more relaxed atmosphere because, you know, once the season begins, it's all about wins and losses and keeping your job and doing all that. So it's nice to have that sort of reprieve beforehand.
And I got to think that, you know, what we're doing, the situation with the owners is kind of tough because once you come out of it, there might be still a little bit of angst between, you know, players and ownership. I don't know how often
there always is. Hopefully it'll back down, but there always is some.
All right. And by the way, I just turned 62, so I went on Social Security, looking at Social Security, and I realized if I make any Social Security, I give it all back. So for me, it doesn't make any sense to take it right now. All right. Here's our third trivia question. Now, this one is a little easier. I figured I'd give you guys an easier question. Name the pitcher who served up Joe Carter's World Series winning home run in the 1993 World Series. You guys will know that one. Okay. Answer when we get back. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman, our special guest, Scott Karl. Okay, guys, name the pitcher who served up Joe Carter's World Series winning home run in the 1993 World Series. Go ahead, Scott.
I'm gonna go with Mitch the Wild Thing Williams.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, in fact, if you remember, he was also the pitcher who gave up the base hit to Will Clark, right, to get him into the. I think it was to get him into the World Series, or
yep.
Yeah, and it's funny because that was the one time. That's actually why, if I'm not mistaken, that's the reason why now everyone talks into their mitt. Because Will was able to read the lips of Mitch, you know, it's going to be, okay, fastball inside.
Yep. That could have easily been it because I know that it was right around then when people started to cover their mouths.
Yeah. And that's without all the cheating of, you know, the Astros and all that other.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother show. We'll wait for that
yeah, well, you know what? We're going to have you on another time to talk about all the stuff that the typical audience for the fans like have no idea what really goes on. All right, and before we cut out for our thoughts today, again, we want to thank our special guest, Scott Karl, former baseball pitcher. Okay, here's our thoughts for the day. So I got thrown out of my local park after arranging the squirrels by height. They didn't like me critter-sizing. But I'm pumped. Okay. Russ loves when I come up with these dad jokes there. Vern usually laughs at them. Okay. And I hate it when I think I'm buying organic vegetables, but when I get home, I discover they're just regular donuts. All right. Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We'll be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
So long.